This video goes out to someone who's been a friend of mine here for a long time. She used to be called Nuclear Night. And in my heart she will always be Nuclear Night. She now goes by the name Rith. I'm making this video to ask my friend a favor. I'm going to do it publicly. I'm going to ask her to do something that might be difficult, but I believe it's the right thing to do. Recently, JonPaulPorn made an expose of sorts, even though it was riddled with errors that he has admitted about delanding coal. And leaving my personal feelings about the content of that video aside, there's no doubting that the comment section of that video was one of the most epic comment sections we've ever seen on YouTube. There were a number of very passionate participants in that comment section, including delanding coal and JonPaulPorn himself. But no one could take their eyes away from the exchange that went on between Rith and the user called Physical Conservative, also known as Rith. These two went at each other. It was a comment battle. Rith said some really ugly, horrible things to Nuke, and whatever he threw at her, she caught and threw right back at him harder. And no one who witnessed that exchange could fail to reach a conclusion different from mine, and the conclusion is that she utterly and completely destroyed him. And I would like her to issue a public apology to Rith for humiliating him. Now, I realize a lot of you are going to take issue with that idea. You're going to say, well, he asked for it. Let's leave that aspect of this aside for a moment. Let's deal with the fact that there's no getting around what happened. Ultimately, it ended in Rith being completely humiliated by Nuclear Night. She defeated him in a fight, basically. And I don't know if some of you feminists and women realize how humiliating it is for a man to be defeated by a woman in any situation, whether it's, in a card game or tic-tac-toe or a marathon. The examples are endless, really. Most humiliating of all, probably arm wrestling. But point being, this was a fight that Rith wanted to win. He was not pulling any punches, and he still lost. And you also have to take into account, Rith is a very prideful man. And Nuke, you wounded his pride. And when you a very prideful guy, when you wound his pride in public like that, you're basically cutting his balls off in public. And that's kind of why I want you to apologize, because you basically cut his balls off in public and then, handed them back to him. And he was so humiliated, he took his severed balls and closed his channel in shame. Don't you feel a little bit bad about that? Yeah, he called you some horrible names, but you won. And this is a guy who had over 1,000 subs, and he closed his channel. Don't you feel a little bit guilty for destroying him so utterly and completely? For embarrassing him? Just consider, please. Just think about the idea of apologizing to him, and I think if you sit and cogitate on it long enough, you'll think, you know what? I'm gonna apologize to him. And let me address Rith directly. Yes, you've always been a dick to me, but you're an important figure here on YouTube. YouTube is a much emptier place without you. There is collectively in our hearts an indentation where your presence used to occupy. Just like I'm sure there's an indentation in your favorite easy chair when you're not sitting in it. There's probably a huge crater there. So please come back. And of my friend Rith, I will only say this. Of all the conservative souls I've encountered here in my journeys here on YouTube, yours was the most physical. Please do the right thing, Nuke.